In this video, I'm going to talk about if I take any responsibility for what happened to my daughter. So I'm doing a series of different stories and I'm telling about things that happened to us through our shaken baby syndrome journey. And this is part of that. Do I take responsibility, even though it was my ex-husband, her biological father, who shook her? Okay, the answer to that is somewhat yes, I take some responsibility. Okay, so I do not take full responsibility. I did not shake her. I did not know he was going to shake her. I didn't take part in that. Okay, so no, I don't take full responsibility. But the responsibility that I do take, I guess as a Christian, is that sin led to her being shaken. Did God cause that? No. God is good. He only does good. He does not cause bad things to happen in this world. The world does. People's choices cause those things to happen. So, with that being said, I guess I'm going to backtrack here. I'm going to try to keep this short. My husband and I were living in sin before we were married. Okay. He had been a drug addict in the past. I thought he had quit, married him. Actually, first got pregnant, moved in together, got pregnant. And it was all out of lust. Okay, a lot of our relationship was lustful, and got pregnant with our first child. She ended up being fine. She doesn't have shaken baby syndrome. But second child, Krista, he was still going in and out of using alcohol and drugs. However, he had gone to rehab when I found out I was pregnant with her. I thought he was fine. I thought he was clean. I thought that rehab worked. I thought our marriage was finally being redeemed, and all of these things is how I felt about it. So, those choices that I made to be, first of all, in a relationship with someone like that, I knew he was like that. When I met him, I knew he was not a very godly man. I don't even remember having the conversation, do you even believe in God? And this isn't all about God as far as me taking responsibility for what happened, but that plays a big role because of my beliefs. And so I didn't even have that conversation with him, like if he was a true Christian or not. I knew that his parents or his mother was like Jehovah's Witness religion, but that's all I knew. And I didn't even look into that to see if that's what I wanted to believe or wanted to be around and stuff. So, those sinful actions, of course, led me into this marriage, led me into all of this. So first of all, if I had never taken part in that, if I had rebuked that sin, if I had said, no, I'm not doing this, he would have left. He wouldn't have been, involved with me at all, because that's all he wanted in that. He didn't want a marriage. He didn't want a Christian, loving, godly marriage. He didn't want a family, all of those things. So if I hadn't been involved in that sin to begin with and would have turned away from that, then yeah, God, would have, if I would have listened to God, because I am pretty sure many times he tried to lead me away from that and I didn't listen. Okay, I just wanted to do what I wanted to do. So that's partly where I take responsibility, is I made that choice to be with this person who I knew wasn't good. Did I know he was going to do that to children? No. To a child? No. I didn't know that. But if I had never gotten involved in that sin, it wouldn't have led to that. Okay, so that's number one. Number two is I knew that he could be abusive and there could have been red flags that I was dismissing about him, to know that I probably shouldn't have left my child alone with him. Now, he had never been abusive towards our children. He had never treated them really badly. At the time, my older daughter was 2. Younger daughter was shaken at 3 months old. Never saw any signs that were clear that was like, do not leave your child with him. He's dangerous. Okay, other than how he treated me, and I thought that was just me. I had that naive mindset at the time that it was me that was causing him to act that way, and I didn't realize that he actually got diagnosed with bipolar disorder, anger issues. He was still using drugs, still using alcohol, even though he had me fooled for a while. So, anyways, I didn't know, but I could have seen that if he treats me that way, he could be capable of treating them that way. Now I see that. Now I look back and realize that. But at the time, I thought it was all my fault because I was just naive and dumb and thought if I could just be better for him, maybe he'll change. Okay, that was dumb of me to think. Yes, I know. But that's all I knew at that time. So, the responsibility that I take in it, I guess, is that I was living a sinful lifestyle. And the Bible does talk about how the wages of sin is death. Am I saying that God caused her to get shaken and to die like that and all that? No. But there are consequences to sin. Okay? And in a way, I do believe that was me living out some consequences for the sin that I was living in. And again, do not take this as I'm blaming God and saying that God punished my daughter, punished me by causing her to suffer like that. I don't believe that, but I do believe he allowed me to walk out those consequences. And so there's that part. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I want to say on this topic. But taking responsibility, I mean, I definitely took responsibility as far as taking care of her, because I became a single mom overnight of her. I became the only provider for her, the only caregiver for her for a long time before we got nursing care. And I definitely, gave it my all and gave up. I sacrificed my life in so many ways for her to take care of her because she was such a fragile child after that. But, yes, I've worked through a lot of that. I probably blamed myself a little bit more in the beginning. But then I had to realize, no, I didn't do that to her. I didn't. Did my sin and issues, whatever, lead up to that happening to her? Well, sure, in a way, because she wouldn't have existed if I wouldn't have gotten with this man. And then none of that would have happened, okay? My choices did lead to that. So, I can accept that, and I do. And I don't make those same choices, that's for sure. And that's why I'm here, to spread awareness about this and talk about it so that no one else makes that choice. But it was not my fault. So, I get a lot of hateful comments saying, you're a terrible mom, you left her alone with him, all of these things. And just a lot worse than that. People are saying I should die for what I did to her, even though I didn't do it to her. But if you're carrying something like that, maybe your child went out and got in a car accident and has a traumatic brain injury, you've got to turn that over to God and say, okay, I gave him that car. Whatever you're blaming yourself for, I let them go out tonight. You have got to stop blaming yourself because you didn't cause it, just like I didn't shake her. So I did not cause it. Did choices leading up to that lead to that happening? Sure. Other choices, for you, if it's your child who was, in a car accident, well, you could come up with all the reasons why it was your fault, but you didn't cause that car accident. Okay, so you've got to let it go. You've got to turn it over to God, and you've got to release that guilt because, you've lost a child or your child is hurt, and you've got to release that guilt so you can be fully there for them, fully there for your other children, fully there for your spouse, whatever it is. But you've got to release it. So I had to get to that point where I released it. It doesn't bother me anymore. I have apologized. I have asked forgiveness from God, saying, I should have never done that. Okay, I can accept that now. And I'm sorry. And so, anyways, that's the responsibility that I take from, what happened to her.